My neighbor called the cops on me because I was exposing myself inside my house, but she was bawling her eyes when I charged her with trespassing and cops escorted her out. I bought my house 3 years ago. Small ranch home, nothing fancy. The previous owners were an elderly couple who knew everyone on the street. When they moved to assisted living, I got the place for $40,000 under asking. What I didn't know was that the old owners had an open door policy with the neighbors. Unlocked gates. Kids cutting through the backyard. Block party central. First week in my new house, I'm making coffee in my robe at 6 a.m. I look up and there's a woman standing in my backyard staring at me through the kitchen window. I screamed. She screamed. Then she had the audacity to look annoyed. She told me the Hendersons always let her use the shortcut to the park. I told her the Hendersons don't live here anymore. I installed locks on my gates that same day. For 2 years, nothing happened. I figured she got the message. Then last month, I come home from work and there's a woman waiting in my driveway. Same woman, arms crossed, 2 kids in the minivan behind her. She tells me we need to talk about my behavior. I asked what behavior. She said her 14-year-old son had seen me through my bedroom window in my underwear multiple times. She called me disgusting, said I was corrupting her children, said she had photographic evidence. My bedroom window faces my backyard, 6-foot wooden fence on all sides. The only way to see inside is to physically be on my property. I told her that. She ignored it. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Me, in a sports bra and shorts, clearly taken through my bedroom window. My nightstand visible. My ceiling fan in the frame. I said, you took this from inside my yard. She said, that's not the point. I said, that's exactly the point. She started lecturing me about decency, about how there are children in this neighborhood, about how the Hendersons would be ashamed of what I've done to their home. I told her to get off my property. She refused, said she wasn't leaving until I agreed to install blackout curtains. I went inside and locked the door. She stood in my driveway for 20 minutes yelling. I recorded the whole thing. 4 days later, a police officer shows up at my door. She'd filed a report. Indecent exposure. Corrupting minors. She told them I was intentionally displaying myself to neighborhood children. I showed the officer my property, walked him through the backyard, showed him exactly where someone would have to stand to get that photo angle. He looked uncomfortable. I pulled up her photos on my phone. She'd texted them to me as evidence during her driveway tantrum. 8 photos total. Different outfits. Different times of day. One was clearly evening. My bedroom lamp on in the background. The officer asked how she got these photos. I said she'd been trespassing. Repeatedly. For weeks. Maybe longer. He asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. He called her. Asked her to come to my property to discuss the situation. She showed up 20 minutes later, smug. Her husband trailing behind her. She thought she'd won. Thought the cop was there to force me to comply. The officer asked her directly, ma'am, how did you obtain these photographs? She froze. Her husband looked at the photos, then at the officer, then at her. She started stammering about how she was just protecting her children, how I was the one who should be in trouble, how this was all being blown out of proportion. The officer told her she was being charged with criminal trespassing and unlawful surveillance. That's when she lost it. She started sobbing, hyperventilating, telling her husband to do something. He just stood there, staring at her like he'd never seen her before. The officer found 31 photos on her phone when he searched it, spanning 6 weeks, some taken at 6 a.m., some at 11 p.m. She'd been climbing my fence almost daily, watching me through my windows, documenting everything. Her husband asked her why. She couldn't answer. Through her sobs, she kept repeating that I was flaunting myself and that someone had to protect the neighborhood, that I was trying to steal her family, that her son had changed since I moved in. Her husband filed for divorce 3 weeks later. At the hearing, her lawyer tried to argue she was acting out of maternal instinct. The judge asked if maternal instinct typically involves climbing fences at midnight to photograph a sleeping woman. She got 18 months probation, a restraining order, and mandatory psychiatric evaluation. Last week, I saw her husband at the grocery store. He apologized, said he had no idea, said she'd been struggling for years, but he never imagined it was this bad. I told him I hoped she got help. He said he hoped so too. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in my backyard. First time I'd felt comfortable out there in months. The fence felt taller somehow. The silence felt earned.